Hey everyone, welcome to the Sixo Jock podcast where we talk about sports, future aspirations, and everything in between. Today we will be talking about trade rumors and possible trades and the NBA draft that's happening on Wednesday, November 18th. What's going on, guys? My name is Kunal. I'm joined by my co-host William.
Hey everyone, let's get into some crazy NBA trade rumors. How about them Houston Rockets, eh? They're out of fuel and crumbling. Rumor has it, Westbrook's unhappy, Harden doesn't see a future, on top of the fact they have lost the 2018 Executive of the Year, Daryl Morey, and their longtime running head coach. What are your thoughts on that, Kunal?
All right, so with Houston, I feel like honestly they should just look for a rebuild, considering the fact that both stars are unhappy. I'm pretty sure they're going to trade away Russell just because, like, it was a bad fit, like, let's be honest, because they're just doing the whole your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn with Westbrook and Harden. It's not really going anywhere. They went to the second round, they lost. Everybody thought small ball would work, but they ended up losing. And let's be real, Russell Westbrook is just a stat pattern.
Let me get your thoughts on three possible trade scenarios that have been brought up. Harden going to South Beach, Miami. So in the trade, they would send Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kelly Olynyk, and Iguodala for James Harden. What are your thoughts on that?
I honestly don't think Miami should make that trade because Hero and Robinson are actually making up their core right now, and they played big minutes in the finals, and they came up clutch. Duncan Robinson went off in game 4, I think, right, and pushed. No,
Yeah,
was it 4 or 5? I don't
I
remember.
think I think both games actually.
Yeah, but one of those games he
Yeah.
scored. I think he made 7 or 8 threes and got like 20 something points, and like him and Jimmy Butler really just was carrying the offense. Tyler Hero is coming up. He can show that he can play big minutes, make big shots. He's a good player. You got Iguodala and Olynyk, which are good pieces coming off the bench. You're giving up a lot of your depth too for James Harden, which I don't really know how you're going to run the offense with him just because he is a more of a drive it and kick it or just shoot up threes because he's been in that Mike D'Antoni system. So I don't know
Okay.
what like you can really do with that in Miami. Like I don't really see because they don't really have a big man either where you like
Yeah.
say Joel, right?
Yeah. They do have Bam Adebayo though, so
Yeah, they have Bam, but other than that, like so it's gonna be you can run pick and roll with Harden and Bam, and then if both of them get defended, you just kick it out to who? There's like no 3-pointers, no sharpshooters left on that team.
yeah.
Plus with Jimmy
It
Butler
would
there, I don't really
be
think he'd want Harden.
it would be kind of the 76ers situation. Well, I'll
Yeah.
bring up the 76ers. The situation with that is there's a trade of Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, Zaire Smith, Thibault, and Mike Scott for James Harden and Covington.
Wait, so
Thoughts on that?
who are the players?
Ben Simmons, Josh
Yeah.
Richardson, Mike
Okay.
Scott, Matisse
Yeah.
Thibault, and Zaire Smith.
I I actually like the only thing that like I'm like sad about leaving would be Josh Richardson. But the fact that you're getting Robert Covington back in that is pretty good because they're kind of the same. They're both 3-and-D type players, and I think they're both the same ish height too, right? I think Robert
Yeah,
Covington's like what 6'7", 6'8".
6'7", yeah.
Yeah, and
I
then
think Josh Richardson is a bit shorter. I think like 6'5", 6'6", yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's actually a pretty good team. Plus, with Harden and Embiid, there's so much more you can do. Like spacing wise, Philadelphia just gets so much better because already you had players that can space out the floor and shoot. But the problem with that was that you had a point guard who couldn't shoot for jack shit. So
Yeah, exactly.
pick and roll with Embiid, you have him drive
Yeah.
to the lane, and then you can double team him, or you can just double it just wasn't working.
It kind of puts Joel Embiid back into his natural habitat. So he can finally go back in the post. He doesn't always have to step out to the three since he's, I don't know, always – he shoots more than he
He
in the
should.
post
Yeah,
anymore, gets in the post anymore. So,
yeah, he loves shooting the
um,
three. He's like amazing in the post. He has a lot of moves, could break down defenders. That's why I'm saying Harden to Philly would be really good because Now, if you dump the ball down to Embiid, what are you supposed to do? You can't double team him. If you do, he'll just pass it out to any of the shooters. You have Al Horford, Robert Covington, Harden, and Tobias Harris, right? They can all make the
Yeah,
three.
yeah.
But you can run the pick and roll with Embiid. Embiid, he can either fade back to the three or he can just roll. And then Harden will just do his own ISO plays and just make his shots.
I feel like as a whole, this trade probably makes kind of both teams better, I assume, because I think Ben Simmons would fit better in the Houston system. James Harden would fit better in the Philadelphia system. And plus, overall, with the head coaching change recently, well, we'll go into that a bit later, is that Doc Rivers is the current coach for the 76ers now, which probably the last time, if I remember correctly, Tobias Harris was in Doc Rivers' system, he really flourished. So I think as a whole, their point guard, shooting guard, small forward, their whole starting lineup, I think would be really good under Doc Rivers and the whole system. So I think this trade would probably be one of the most outstanding ones. I think would be one of the best out of the three.
Yeah.
In that case, we'll talk about the last one. That would be to Brooklyn. The big news about Houston sending James Harden and Covington to Brooklyn for Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Torian Prince, and a whole bag load of trading picks. So
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
That's kind of like a Paul George to the Clippers type of trade where you just give up like a crap ton of assets. But I don't know why they would want to make that trade. Like, first of all, you're going to give up like a lot of your depth. You have Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert, which are pretty much like near all-star type guards. And without
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie this
Six man.
season,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, without Kyrie this season, they're still well, he still played, but he didn't play that much. They still made the playoffs. And you know Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert are going to give you good minutes. They can create their own shots, get their own points. Then for Harden to come to Brooklyn, like I don't know how Kyrie would even feel about that. Because we already know Kyrie and Durant are like they call the shots in Brooklyn. Whatever they
Yeah.
want, they get. That's why they got Steve
Yeah.
Nash. That's why they got D'Antoni. Like nothing happens in Brooklyn without their say so. So I don't know how Kyrie would be okay with him coming, because Kyrie's like pretty not narcissistical, but like he has an ego to him, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how
Earth is
he
flat kind of thing, eh?
yeah. I don't know why he would be okay knowing in his heart of hearts that he's the third best player on his team. Because Harden, arguably top five in the league, and Durant for sure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then you come in, you bring in Harden, you become the third option on your own team. Plus, there's no way in how they can distribute the ball because Harden needs the ball to be effective, and Kyrie needs the ball to do his thing. Because all three of those
When
players, they flourish on one-on-one scoring. You know, they can get their own buckets, and if you just put them in ISO, they'll do their thing. But
yeah,
the reason
when
why,
he
like,
finished, yeah, when he left Boston, he wanted his own team. So I don't think adding another superstar like James Harden ever like gives him that chance. Kind of
yeah,
puts him back in that whole Cleveland Cavaliers situation
yeah,
again.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, like he couldn't handle being number two to LeBron, and when he was in Cleveland too, LeBron was actually taking less shots. He was giving the ball more to Kyrie and letting him do his own thing. But he just couldn't deal with the fact that LeBron was a leader. Everybody knew he was the leader, right? And James
Yeah,
Harden is a leader in Houston, so him coming in, he'll like take over the role, or he'll try to take over the role as like, yo, I'm the leader, even though y'all were here first, right? Because
yeah, exactly.
he's the better player from Kyrie, and Durant isn't really the alpha type of player.
Yeah, I think Durant's the least of his troubles. I think it's mainly just being able to share the ball between the
Mm-hmm.
three of them is first one of the problems, and then the other thing is just if Harden and Kyrie can kind of coexist together. But I don't know. I don't think any of them are willing to let go of the number of touches they get per game. But I guess if this trade happens, one or two superstars will probably be really upset about the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Not only that, but like the reason why, like sometimes it looks good on paper, it just looks good when you hear it. Like, oh, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant all on one team. Holy, like they're gonna win, right? Because I think Josh Hart even said like, I'm not even gonna play next season. Just give the championship
Yeah,
to them if they pull it off. But like, that's not how it works. Like you can see like it just depends on how players play and everything too. The reason why Durant going to Golden State was such a big thing and how why it worked was because Curry, Draymond, and Clay. did not need the ball in their hands. They were not players that hogged the ball. They didn't have high usage percentages. So like they all just run around screens, they run the offense. And whenever they needed a bucket, they just give it to KD and he can just do his thing in ISO, right?
Yeah.
So it worked because nobody really needed the ball in their hands. So if anything, you can just give the ball to KD and do whatever you wanted. But if you have all three of them, they're all gonna want the ball. They all want their points. Harden's been averaging like basic 30 points for like how many years now? Three years now?
3 years is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really think he's not gonna want his like numbers? You really think Kyrie doesn't want his 25? KD doesn't want his 25? The only reason why I could see it happening is because him and KD were together in OKC. They did go to a finals together, but Harden came off the bench, and also because D'Antoni is also in Brooklyn now too. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but even still,
Yeah.
I don't know
But
why.
yeah, a lot of
I don't
people
know.
say, I don't know, you know how a lot of people look back and be like, oh, Harden was with Westbrook and Durant. But I feel like that was when Harden first got into the league. So I think, I don't know, when he didn't, was he when he wasn't a 30-point average scorer, I think it was fine for them three to be together. But right now, I feel like each of them have their own identity. They they need to kind of have the ball in their own hands and kind of create for themselves now. So I really don't think him reuniting with Kevin Durant will work out, even though they played together and all. But we'll see. I guess the situation, coaching, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think superstars, right? So they all want to do their own thing, sort of thing, no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because even
Yeah,
back when they were all three together, like Durant was established. Like you knew Durant what he was. He was the star. He was a driving force of that team, right? Westbrook was there too, but Harden came off the bench, right? Now you have
yeah,
all three of these players, all former MVPs, all getting their numbers, all establishing themselves. They all like to play a certain way. They all want to do their own thing. Like it just doesn't work. Like with Harden and Westbrook, everybody was saying how they were friends, they grew up together, they both want to win a ring, they'll find a way to make it work. But look, like Westbrook was unhappy the fact they didn't get that many touches anymore. Harden obviously was a little bit, you could see that like he wasn't happy either, seeing that he didn't get the ball that much, and Russ makes dumb decisions too, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. For next up is of course Russell Westbrook. There has been rumors that Houston is thinking of trading Russell Westbrook and Covington to the Clippers for Paul George. Thoughts on that?
again, I don't know why you would do that. Like Westbrook has established himself as like he's more about him over the team. He
Yeah.
wants his numbers. He wants his touches. So I don't know why you put him into a team like that.
What was that conversation that we had a couple of days back? It was how there's no way that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard could be better than that other duo, Russell
Oh
Westbrook
yeah,
and Kawhi,
Westbrook
right?
and Durant. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know why that you would think that putting Westbrook and Kawhi together could win a championship if Westbrook and Durant couldn't win, because Durant is the way like is superior to Kawhi Leonard, other than defense. But other than that, Kawhi just doesn't come close in like everything else, scoring wise, rebounding wise, even like facilitating the ball and everything. If Durant couldn't deal with being with Westbrook, I don't know why Kawhi would be able to. Plus, Westbrook messes up your spacing. Like, so I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I
know
think that's
why
the
that
only
would even
reason that
fit.
didn't work in Houston, right? So
Yeah, because I think Kawhi said he wanted a point guard that could actually facilitate the offense for him too, because Patrick Beverly wasn't really doing that. But I don't know why you'd want someone like Westbrook who, as your primary decision maker, when Durant has showed and Durant has even said that he couldn't deal the fact that Westbrook made all the decisions. Westbrook made all the wrong decisions, and it was the reason why he ended up leaving OKC.
okay. In other news, head coaching changes recently in the league. Doc Rivers in Philly, Steve Nash for in Brooklyn, and with D'Antoni, and then a new head coach in Houston, Steven Silas. So let's break down the Doc Rivers and 76ers first. What is your take on that? Do you think the fit's good?
Um, I think it's actually a good fit just because Doc is a really good, experienced coach. He has a winning mindset. He wants to win. He has to prove himself that he wasn't the reason why the Clippers lost. Because a lot of the blame did go to him, and he wasn't able to make any adjustments throughout the later series against Denver, and he got kicked out because Kawhi and was it Paul George wanted him out. So I think he has a lot to prove. He's a good defensive-minded coach, and he has a lot of defensive talent to work with in Philly. Plus, if he does end up getting James Harden too, I think it'll be even better. And he'll install into James to actually play defense. Because with Mike D'Antoni, like nobody really played any defense in D'Antoni's system. Like D'Antoni really didn't care about it,
Yeah.
but Doc really does care about defense, and he has players that are like capable of playing high level defense, especially that starting five, like that big starting five, like from top to bottom, like each player is above 6'5". Like they can lock if they tried, and with Doc, I feel like they could lock down a team, and I just think that he'll be able to make Joel Embiid take the next step in his game and take basketball more seriously and install a winning mindset, a better winning mindset in Philly.
Yeah, exactly. Just to change up the whole culture and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of new culture, one with a lot of criticism, Steve Nash being hired in Brooklyn. A lot of people, shout out to Stephen A. Smith, saying Steve Nash sort of doesn't deserve it, and a lot of other coaches should have been in this position since Steve Nash hasn't had any experience being a head coach before. But yeah, what is your thoughts on what he can bring to Brooklyn?
I think honestly he kind of just got the job because of Kevin Durant and Kyrie, because Steve Nash was working with
Warriors.
KD. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was working with him.
Yeah, I don't know what his system will be, but I think based on
Yeah,
his player uh, background, I think he has a pretty high IQ, and I think he should be able to read and complete a lot of plays for Kyrie and Kevin Durant,
yeah.
or
I think
and
it's
plus Harden. So
Yeah, I think also just about keeping the egos in check and just being able to like establish like and gain respect of players. Because as a coach, it's really hard to get a respect for like someone like KD or Kyrie who've basically done it all, proven themselves. You're gonna if you're gonna tell if you're a new like fresh coach and you're telling players like that what to do, they're not really gonna take you seriously. Because like you have no accolades under your belt, you have no respect, you haven't done anything to show them that like you know what you're talking about, what you're doing is right. So the fact that they have Steve Nash is also good because he's established himself as a player, two-time MVP, multiple-time All-Star. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame. No, he is, right? Or he's going to be in the Hall of
inductee,
Fame.
yeah, I think inductee.
Yeah, so he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So he has nothing left to prove. And so he has KD's respect, and he's worked with KD before, and KD's worked with him. So I think, considering that they have worked together, he'll be more inclined to do what he says, respect him. If he's like, all right, KD, you got to do this. It's same as like how Steve Kerr was able to manage people in Golden State because he's done it all, right? He's played with Jordan, he's played under Pop, he's
Yeah,
gotten multiple championships. So everyone knows and respects him. So when he says to do something, people are more inclined to listen.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just backtrack the fact that Steve Nash has been inducted in the Hall of Fame. He was in 2018. So
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it makes sense. Last one, Steven Silas. May not a lot of people have heard of his name. He's the assistant coach for the Dallas Mavericks. So he
Mm-hmm.
was coaching Luka Doncic and all that stuff and his development. And as we can see, he's a pretty good coach in developing new young players. So I think him in a new system or him in Houston creates them a new identity as well. So I think based on his introduction speeches and stuff and interviews, he's mainly wanted to crack down on the fact that they want to play small ball and play the traditional basketball style as well. So I think that will definitely change a lot of things in Houston, and which
Yeah.
also leads to so many players wanting to leave as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest one is obviously James Harden because he loves that style of play where it's like the D'Antoni offense where it's just sharpshooters around and all you do is just take threes or layups. It's like the whole analytical game of basketball and just doing what's most efficient. And it's worked for him. He's in the MVP discussion almost every year. He's won an MVP. But I think considering the fact that he'll have to take a different role, and I don't think he wants to or he's open to it, is probably one of the reasons why he wants to leave.
I think it's just kind of, I don't know, a lot of things in Houston that are just can't they can't cooperate in the locker room nowadays. Like for example, Doc Rivers' son, Austin Rivers, kind of yelling at him, saying how he doesn't deserve what he is. All the players aren't happy with how selfish Westbrook and Harden were. But yeah, I guess that'll all change since all of them will be leaving this offseason. Now to recent breaking news. The 2020 NBA champions, Los Angeles Lakers, are making more improvements and have added Dennis Schroeder in exchange for Danny Green and a 2020 28th first round pick. Now this trade really shows that Rondo is most likely leaving. What are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, I'm glad Danny Green's out of there.
Yeah,
He was really inconsistent. Like when he plays well, but it's like he'll make 7 threes or 5 threes in one game, and then he'll go 6 games by only making like one. So
yeah,
he does play good defense, but I think they still have Avery Bradley, so they're not gonna really miss him because Avery Bradley basically just does the same thing that Danny Green does on a more consistent basis. Dennis Schroeder, he can run and he can play. He has good playmaking ability. He can get his own shot. He can shoot the three. I think it's a good trade. You're not really losing much. But if Rondo leaves, that would be a big hit when it comes to the playoffs because Rondo played high minutes. He played crucial minutes. He was pretty much the third best player on that team after AD and LeBron. He was, anytime there was a big run, anytime there was a big comeback, he was in the lineup. He was making plays. He was playing good defense. He was swinging the ball, making good passes. He's doing everything, and he's making big shots too. So he really comes clutch in the playoffs. And I know if the Lakers don't get Rondo, he's going to the Clippers, which I'm a Lakers fan, so I'm gonna be pissed about that because that just
yeah.
makes the
But I
Clippers
think
a lot
I think
better.
most importantly, he'll probably create the leadership, or he'll bring the leadership to the Clippers where they need it
Yeah,
most.
yeah. Because Kawhi's style of leadership is kind of just he's like nonchalantly just quiet. He
I'll do my
leads
own
by
thing.
example.
Yeah,
Yeah, he leads by example. But the reason why that doesn't work is because when the team is struggling, you need a voice, right? You need someone to speak up and be like, "All right, guys, this is what we need to do," which Rondo could do. Which is why in Toronto, it was good for Kawhi because you had Kyle Lowry there. So whenever they were losing games, Kyle would pick everybody up. He'd like talk, do everything that needs
yeah.
to be
Lift
done.
the spirits of the
Yeah,
team and everything like
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. And Kawhi would just lead by example. He'd go out there, quietly just drop 30, play good defense, do everything that he does. And yeah, like that style of play works when you're winning and you're all like on the same page. But when you start losing, it's just not gonna work. You need somebody to speak up.
Like that 3-1 loss, eh?
Yeah, like
Three
that
one
3-1 loss,
comeback loss.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, to recent news now. The Phoenix Suns have finalized a deal to acquire All-Star point guard Chris Paul, which sends Chris Paul to the Suns, of course, for Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, and a bunch of other players. Thoughts on this pick? Thoughts on this trade?
I think it's good because Phoenix finally wants to prove themselves, show everybody that they are a team that could make the playoffs. They went 8-0 in the bubble. They're all young. They're all hungry. They want to prove themselves. Devin Booker's taking the next steps, and you finally have someone who can run an offense. You had Ricky Rubio, but he was really like getting old and wasn't really much of his old self like he was in Utah. But this is really good. You got Chris Paul. He showed that in OKC he still had fuel left in the tank. He was making big plays. He basically almost beat Houston, took them to 7 games, and nobody thought they would with a bunch of young players. Now you put him into a young Phoenix team who need a leader, who need a voice. I just think, Phoenix could probably make a playoff, probably be a playoff team with Chris Paul. Yeah, and like I think he led OKC. Yeah, OKC was the 5th seed in the West last season
Yeah,
with Chris Paul, and nobody even thought he was going to make the playoffs last year. And I think, yeah, the Suns were 10 with 34 wins. So with Chris Paul, I think they could probably it's 44. It's a 10-game difference between the 5th seed and the 10th seed, right? And I think
yeah,
with Chris Paul, you could win those 10 games, and you could probably possibly make the playoffs.
exactly.
And you don't really give up much because what you gave up, Kelly Oubre is like the biggest piece, right? That they
Yeah,
gave up. The rest,
yeah.
and like Ricky Rubio is just essentially replaced by a better version of himself and Chris Paul. So
Yeah, exactly. But I think based on the assets that Oklahoma City Thunder received in this trade really boost their future, since right now they have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Steven Adams being their oldest player there. But I think everyone else is below the age of 23 right now. And
yeah,
plus, I think
plus
Oklahoma has gone through this stage since like when the last time they rebuilt, they drafted Westbrook, Harden, and
and
then Durant,
Durant.
or
Yeah,
Durant and then Harden. So
no, it was Durant. I think it was Durant, Westbrook, Harden.
yeah,
Yeah, so they drafted like yeah. So and right now they have a crap ton of draft picks. So their future is good. Like they're gonna be
yeah,
good. And they're it's still like they made the playoffs last year and they're still getting more assets. Their players are developing. They're gonna be good. And they could probably just trade away those assets too and those picks and get like superstar players in their primes if they wanted. But I just think they're gonna go towards a rebuild.
yeah. Well, speaking of a rebuild, I think that leads us right into the main topic of today, or the second main topic of today, the 2020 NBA Draft, which is happening this Wednesday. So for those on the West Coast, 4 p.m. For those on the East Coast, 7 p.m. So do you want to go through? Let's see our top 10 and let's see how our predictions fare before this Wednesday.
All right. So I think you have to start off, right?
Yeah,
And
I'll
we'll go.
take the first pick, which Minnesota has, but I really believe, in fact, that Minnesota is a high chance of possibly trading this pick, since they already have a young core in Towns and D'Angelo Russell. But if they were to make this pick, I feel like they would pick Anthony Edwards from Georgia. So I think he brings the most upside to their team, I believe. He's shooting guard since they've lacking in that position. They currently have Josh Okogie right now, but I think he has a lot of explosiveness. They've compared him to Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade has come out and said he could be even a better version of him, but I guess he needs to prove himself first. But I think he should fit pretty well compared to anyone else. Lamelo, we all know the problems with that. And then the other is James Wiseman. They already have a center in Towns, and plus James Wiseman doesn't want to play for the Minnesota Timberwolves since they
Oh,
already
really?
have a
He said
center.
that?
Yeah, he said that. So that's why they kind of want to stay away from him since he doesn't want to play for them. So, but yeah, well, take it
Okay.
away. The second overall pick.
Yeah, so the second overall pick belongs to Golden State, and I do think they'd probably trade it away, but I don't see a trade. Like you could probably package away Wiggins to trade and like some other players or picks to get someone, but I don't know who they could get. The the best thing for them would be to get Giannis, but Giannis hasn't asked for a trade, as far as we know, and also the Bucks have come out and said that they're very confident that Giannis is going to sign a supermax next year, so that means he's going to stay. The only other thing is what Bradley Beal. You don't really need another guard, so I don't see what you could get for the pick that would really change the team. But if they do decide keeping it, do decide to keep it, I think with the second pick they will pick James Wiseman because they need a big man. They have like no depth in the center department. They have like no. I think they have what Kevon Looney,
Yeah,
um, and I think they have Willie Cauley Stein as well. But I haven't. I don't know if he really played that much.
I think he recently got traded actually, or he was traded last season.
Yeah. So see, yeah, they don't even have. So with James Wiseman, you have a 7 foot big man who's really athletic. He's a great rebounder and a great defender and rim protector. They need a big man because in 2016 and 2015 when they had that core of Clay, Curry, and Draymond, they also had Bogut who was setting a lot of screens so that Clay and Curry could just run around the court, uh, or if not, if he could set screens, just make cuts, dunk the ball, great rebounder. Then they don't actually have somebody who could get rebounds and a proper true center with him. I think you could have a good starting lineup of Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and James Wiseman at the five. That's a really good. That's a really good starting five. Plus, under Steve Kerr and under Draymond too, I think James Wiseman could be a pretty good defender as well. He's already a good rebounder, and I think he could just be really useful for Golden State.
Yeah, I think Giannis recently did come out and he said if the Milwaukee Bucks are willing to do something, he's willing to stay. But if they don't do anything in the near future before he signs or even after he signs, he says, "I will see." So I think that kind of leaves a few question marks, but I guess it's mainly putting the ball in Milwaukee's court now
Yeah,
and seeing what they decide.
honestly, it just depends on what Milwaukee's gonna do. Like, I don't think they'd give away Giannis. Like, I don't know why you would not do anything you can to keep Giannis and have him stay. So I don't know why you would just be like, all right, yeah, like this isn't working. Let's just trade him away, or like, let's not give him any help, because that already happened with LeBron in Cleveland back when he went to Miami. They just wouldn't give him any help and decided to go and ring chase. So
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Third pick, Charlotte Hornets have that pick. The Charlotte Hornets, I think, will pick Killian Hayes. It's maybe a surprising pick to a lot of people, having Lamelo Ball drop out of the top three, but we all know the problems there. But I think Killian Hayes could be a surprising top three pick here, since Charlotte doesn't have too many good starting point guards. You, Terry Rozier isn't good enough. Devonte Graham is below average, I guess, or just average. And Michael Jordan would, of course, want a better player. And I feel like Killian Hayes would fit perfectly in that role since he's great size, 6'5" point guard. He has great defense. And yeah, I guess it's really good situation for him to be in there. He's a high riser in a lot of mock drafts recently. So I believe he should go number three.
yeah, also like he's a good 3-point shooter too. He's good in the pick and roll. He's a good defender too for his size. So I do think he'd be a good pick for Charlotte.
Okay.
But honestly, Jordan isn't that good of a GM, so you never know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no,
Cause like
it's
he let I think Kimber Walker just walk for
yeah,
free.
exactly.
So I don't know.
He chose Rozier over Walker.
Yeah, I know. The goat of basketball, sure, but goat of GMs, hell no.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay, number four.
So number 4 was Chicago. So originally I did have Lamelo Ball going here to Chicago, but
Ooh,
then I changed it and I actually decided to go against it and go to Devin Av- Avdija. Is that how you say it?
I believe it's Denny Avdia.
So Devin
Yeah, yeah.
Avdia, yeah. So he's a 6'9". He's a 6'9" shooting guard slash small forward. He can basically just do it all. He can create his own shot. He can shoot the three. He has a good step back three. He can become a good point forward because he is a really good passer. He's a great ball handler for a wing player. He could be a good defender too, and he's excellent in the pick and roll. And I do think Chicago does need a proper playmaker because you have Kobe White that's there, but he's not much of a passer. You have Zach LaVine, who's again a two guard, not really much of a passer, but you throw someone like him who's in there, 6'9". He has great size. He could facilitate for everyone. You have Lauri Markkinen, who's a good 3-point shooter, and you can create for him. You can do pick and rolls with him. You can do pick and fades with him. And I just think overall it would be a good pick for Chicago. It'll fit in their system. You can develop like him and Kobe White as 1 and 2, or you could have Kobe White, Zach LaVine, him at the 3, Laurie Markkinen at 4, and then I don't know who their center is, but um, that in and of itself is a good team, especially in the East. You could, in a couple of years, you could potentially make the playoffs with that too. So obviously surrounded
Mm.
with a couple more veteran players and a little bit more talent, you could possibly make the playoffs. But I do think he'd be a good fit for them.
I think I think it kind of depends now because a lot of GMs nowadays are afraid of drafting an overseas player like Porzingis in the beginning, and then kind of people like Emmanuel Mudiay even and that sort of thing when they were playing overseas, international players. But I think Luka Doncic kind of opened the window for
Yeah.
new prospects overseas.
Yeah, but Luca was also like he's been playing like professional basketball for years, right? And also
Yeah,
he'd won a lot too. He'd won a lot of tournaments and he'd won a lot in um wherever he played. I don't know where he played. But so he established himself before the draft, right? So which is why I think picking Luca I think he went number 1, right?
Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
didn't. No,
No,
he didn't.
no, no, he didn't.
No, he got drafted third to Atlanta and then traded to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
So,
I bet Atlanta's really actually no, Atlanta's happy with Trae Young, but still, Luka's probably like he's gonna be an MVP discussion probably next year if he can take the next step. So
yeah,
yeah.
okay. So, I think it's my turn now. Number 5 for Cleveland. I believe Cleveland Cavaliers will draft Obi Toppin with the fifth overall pick. A guy who's won the Men's College Player of the Year award. I think he is a very good um, player in regards to size. 6'9", he can play pretty much from the point guard position to the center. With that size, with small ball nowadays in the NBA being so popular, with very explosive leaper, one of the most efficient transition finishers, a lob threat, pick and roll. So I think in regards to this overall draft, he could be even looked at as the overall number 2 pick. He could
Yeah.
probably go
Yeah.
to Golden State, right?
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on the situation, need, trades, and movement during the draft. So
Yeah, for sure. I think Cleveland is just they have Colin Sexton who needs a little bit more development too.
mhm.
They have Andre Drummond, but I'm pretty sure he's leaving. They still have Kevin Love there as a good veteran player, just to like show young players how to win games, be a good leader, showing them how to get by in the NBA and how to perform. So yeah, I think he'd be a good pick for Cleveland.
Yeah, many like GMs and players around the NBA are only considering Colin Sexton's ceiling to be a bench player. So I don't know. They could pick another point guard. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 6. Go ahead.
Okay, so for Atlanta, I'm gonna take Isaac Okoro.
Ooh,
So he's
good
six
pick. Good
six.
pick. Uh-huh.
He's an amazing defender, great athleticism, great finisher at the rim. He's an amazing slasher. The only thing is that he could improve on his shooting but if you put him in Atlanta, we have Trae Young, Kevin Herter, and then you have Patrick Williams because I do think Atlanta does need defense. He could be a great defender. You have him cut to the basket. You can throw him lobs. He's not really good at creating his own shot or being good in ISO. We don't really need him to do that. You have Trae Young for that. But I think he could be a good, consistent, like 15-point scorer from like in the paint. So they actually have an inside threat too, because you have Trae Young and Kevin Herter who are really good 3-point shooters outside by 3-point line, and you just have him cutting through the middle or just having the ball and like just having him slash the middle. It would be a good fit.
Yeah, I think shooting doesn't come or is too important for him since Trey Young is pretty much an up and coming Steph Curry, right?
Yeah, but like he can improve on it, right? He's a terrible shooter.
Yeah,
He can improve
definitely.
on it. So his ceiling for scoring is pretty high, I think. So
Yeah. Okay. For sure. For sure. Okay. I'll go number 7. For 7, I think the Detroit Pistons will take Tyrese Halliburton
hmm
as their overall pick since they're in need of a point guard. They have Ish Smith, who's been playing well, but you can always improve, right? Point guards are kind of the future of the NBA,
yeah,
especially being a 6'5" point guard, being able to have a wingspan of 6'7", being able to defend many players. Their best player right now is what? Blake Griffin, I think, and he's kind of diminishing,
washed.
yeah, he's washed up now.
Yeah,
So I think they need to kind of refresh, start over again. They lost Drummond, one of their up and coming stars, and now leaning towards Blake Griffin and leading that team to the playoffs is probably not going to happen.
yeah, for sure.
So starting from their starting point guard position, I think is a good start for them to rebuild.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it. Plus, Blake Griffin just can't stay healthy enough to do anything. And I
Yeah,
mean, if you give a young point guard Blake Griffin like the lob, they're definitely going to be there. He's still going to be a good pick. He's going to be a good pick and roll threat, you know. So
Yeah.
now for
Okay.
the
Number
eighth
8.
pick for New York. Now I know a lot of people could be surprised that Lamelo is going to fall this low, but I'm going to take Lamelo. Um, I originally did have him going higher, and I think realistically speaking, I don't know if a lot of teams will take him because, like, again, I don't know which team could take him above here. Like, Minnesota doesn't really need a point guard. Warriors don't need one. Charlotte, you could take him, but I don't know if Jordan's gonna want to deal with LeVar
Yeah.
and just the whole drama. Same with Chicago. Um, Chicago could take him too, but I do think New York would be a good fit for him. You have a coach in David Fizdale, who's a good coach. You
Mhm.
know, he can groom him, develop him a little bit more. He is a gifted passer. A lot of people don't think that, but he is. People see him for a scorer, but he's an amazing passer. He's 6'8" and he's pretty scrawny. Not scrawny, but like he could put on some weight. And when he does put on some weight, he could actually be a really good defender. He could probably even defend some small forwards, some smaller small forwards. So he could
Mhm.
guard like 1 to 3. Um, he could become a great defender in that sense too. Um, Plus, I think the Knicks need a proper playmaker too. I think he could do a lot for them in that sense. You know, he could run the pick and roll. He's inconsistent when it comes to shooting. He doesn't really have a mid-range shooter, and even when it comes to scoring inside the paint, it's like meh. But with his size and with the fact that he could probably just become a monster, and if you just retweak his jump shooting, which even Lonzo's been doing, I think it'd be a really good start. Because unlike Lonzo, he doesn't have that um pass first mindset. He has that
Yeah.
score first and shooting first mindset. So he'll like literally just let it fly and he won't care. And so I think he could possibly be uh, a 20-25 point game scorer like early on in his career if
Yeah.
if he's given the chance.
I think New York needs a franchise player like Lamelo who can
Yeah,
kind of just step in and kind of
yeah,
stand out, right? Because he's been known as a star, or he's been like out there in social media since he was what 15, 16, I think.
yeah, exactly.
And like the social media shows and all that stuff, the camera is always on him and that sort of thing. So I think the New York bright lights will probably suit him.
Yeah, it's
But
a big city, everyone, and like plus with LeVar too. I
yeah,
think LeVar will do a lot of talking because the fact he'll be like, "Oh, it's New York. My son's
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
raise this franchise. He's gonna be the best player that New York's ever had." Blah blah blah.
Yeah, like we all know different talk shows and all the stuff that he's been blocked on now.
Yeah,
Fox News and First Take and Stephen A. Smith and him LeVar even making one of the broadcasters cry. Even I don't know if you've seen that, but like just the abusive wording that he uses
really?
and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
right.
yeah, he made what was the show? I think First Take. There was a broadcaster, a female, he made cry. So
Wow, I did not know that. Holy, this guy needs to
yeah,
chill.
yeah. So that's why he's been kind of blocked off everything,
Yeah, but that
censored and
also
everything.
Yeah, but that also puts a target on like your kids' backs and stuff, right? Like you're gonna have like people coming at Lamelo like, all right, your dad's talking this shit. Now I'm gonna come after you and like show everyone and show to your dad that you aren't all that, right? Same with
Yeah.
Lonzo too. Lonzo's been improving, he's been getting better year by year, which is good. But I feel like if Lamelo can get into the league, his dad just doesn't do any talking. He just lets like he plays his game, does what he can, listens to his coaches, doesn't cause any drama. I honestly think he could be an up and comer. But the moment he does start getting some recognition and does start developing, I feel like LeVar is going to be like, you see that I was right about him. All these teams who passed on my son, now you're all going to regret it. Blah blah blah.
It's
And he's
all it's all because of me and all my training and all the stuff that
yeah,
I put him through.
yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna do the same thing he did on Lonzo, and then
yeah.
being yeah, that's what kind of caused Lonzo to get pushed out of LA.
Yeah, I feel like after LeBron joining the Lakers, he did not want to deal with that drama, especially with him coming to LA. Like everybody knew it was about championships. Like, yeah, the first year it wasn't really about that, but you knew when LeBron was coming to the Lakers that he was going to try and win a ring, and he's not going to try and have the constant drama that is LeVar Ball happening.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, mainly have Lamelo, but focus on himself. And if anything, he should be fine. See him as a franchise point guard, to be honest. But his dad is pretty much the biggest cause of concern for a lot of people.
Yeah, which is why I do. And if he doesn't fall to New York, I think he could probably go lower.
Yeah.
and fall out of the top 10 just because like again like other teams I don't know who else would take him. Like you have Washington, you have John Wall coming back soon. You
Bradley
don't need a
Beal.
point
Yeah,
guard. You have
exactly.
Bradley Beal. You don't need a point guard. Phoenix, you just got Chris Paul.
Hmm.
You have Devin Booker. You don't want another guard who's gonna try and take
Yeah.
the spotlight. Other than that, like you have San Antonio. I don't know if Pop's gonna deal with that.
Yeah, Greg Popovich. But you never know. If Greg Popovich really wants to sit down and really train him and put him
Yeah,
through stuff. Yeah.
like I think the teams that would really take him would be Chicago, New York, and out of the top 10, if it's out of the top 10, it would just be San Antonio. And other than that, there or like maybe Orlando at 15. But other than that, I don't think any other team would probably take him because no other
Do
team
you
would really
see
need a point guard like that.
do you see Minnesota taking him with number one overall pick?
I don't know why you would because you have D'Angelo Russell and he's proven that he's gotten better and he can be a leader. Not a leader, but I think he made the All-Star team in Brooklyn. He
Yeah.
could get you he could be a good 20 and like five guy. You have a good young core with him and Cat and it looks like they're good friends and they're getting along on and off the court. I don't know why you want to throw a young player like Lamelo in there, and knowing all the Lamelo fans and knowing what he represents, people want to see him play. If he doesn't get to play, he doesn't get the ball, he's probably gonna his dad, and maybe his fans are gonna start going off and causing unneeded drama. I don't know why you'd want that.
Yeah, but a lot of people think like nowadays in recent drafts, they say that they're gonna take kind of upside over the need, right? Like upside over need are necessary to fill a hole in their team. So do
Yeah,
you think that's a possibility?
yeah, but again, like why would you if something's working and something's good, why would you try to do something to mess it up, right? Like
Yeah.
Cat and D'Angelo Russell's is working, right? And you have a good team, you have good players surrounding your two stars. Why would you want to throw in an ambitious rookie into the mix to potentially start screwing up your chemistry and just messing up your team? That's why I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
like the only teams that I could see them taking maybe Charlotte too. So like Charlotte, Chicago, and New York. So those three from the top 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then well Cleveland too actually. Now that I'm looking at it, so you have one, two, three, four teams.
Cleveland already does have two good point guards or decent point guards, I would say.
Yeah, decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, like Charlotte, Chicago, New York from the top 10, and then outside the top 10, maybe just San Antonio and Orlando. I don't see any other team that would take him
Mm,
until
yeah.
unless he really falls into the second round, and that's crazy if he does.
Yeah. But that's only based on the fact that we look at him as a player and nothing else.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just curious to see how much of this is actually going to happen. And see like, if this comes through the way we predicted, I'm just going to be like, wow, GMs look our
Yeah.
way.
Exactly. So yeah, okay. So I believe it's the ninth overall pick now. The Washington Wizards, I believe, will take Onyeka Okongwu, previous teammate of Lamelo Ball's actually in Chino
Mm-hmm.
Hills. I think he's 6'9" compared to Bam Adebayo, and we all know Bam's improvement in playoffs and everything. So I think he's a good vertical spacer, strong mobile center. So I think Washington gets their center of the future. They did try to get. They had Dwight Howard, right?
Yeah, they did, but I think it was
Yeah,
they just let him go,
yeah.
or he just
And
played a couple
then
games and then yeah,
they tried the experiment with Dwight Howard, Thomas Bryant. I guess Thomas Bryant right now is good, but I feel like you need that kind of energy kind of player, and I
yeah.
think Onyeka kind of brings that to the table.
Plus with John Wall too, you can have him like run pick and roll. So when John Wall comes back, it'll actually be good having us good having a center like that with him.
Okay, the 10th pick. Go ahead.
Okay, so for the 10th pick for the Phoenix Suns, I say they're gonna take Patrick Williams. Um, so Patrick Williams, he's explosive. He's very athletic. He plays very physical. He's 6'7". He's a great defender. He can guard multiple positions, which also I think Phoenix right now needs. You need good tall defenders too, because you have people who can facilitate with Chris Paul. You have people who can get you shots and points with Devin Booker. So somebody who can defend, who can play very physical, can be very athletic above the rim. He's pretty good. He's okay 3-point shooter. He's 32%, but again, he can improve as a scorer, which I do think he'll be able to do, considering the fact that you have players. You have a player like Chris Paul facilitating for you, so it just takes a load off from Devin Booker and whoever does play and get you wide open shots. So I think he'll be able to improve as a scorer, and he's really athletic, plays defense really well. So I think it'll be a good pick for them, which I do think it's something that they're lacking in.
For sure. That's good. Yeah, a lot of these picks could probably, any of these 10 could probably switch around and
Yeah, you
be
can
in
just
any
juggle
team.
them around, seeing what this is what like obviously what we think would be best for each team. But my biggest thing is during draft night, I'm just very curious to see where Lamelo is gonna go, because
Yeah,
it's been the
definitely.
biggest. It's gonna be the biggest thing. He's played professionally for a long time too. Like he played in crap, what league was it? The uh
Lamelo, right? The
yeah,
JBL.
no, the when he played overseas, where did he play?
Oh, in Lithuania?
Yeah, he played in Lithuania, right? So he did play in like an actual professional league for a while, right? He didn't do as well, and obviously like it has to do with the fact that he doesn't understand, like, I don't know what language they speak in Lithuania, but he didn't understand the language there. Obviously, he was a lot younger, but it did develop him. And I think the one thing that he did play in the JBL, which is his father's league, so you don't know how much you can really take, right? Playing in a league like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if he played, like, I think honestly, like, the worst mistake um LeVar did was pulling his kids out of college and high school and just taking them overseas. Like, I don't know why you'd want to do that. If Lamelo had gone to UCLA or something like that and been a part of college basketball, and players and coaches and teams actually got to see him play at the college level and see how good he actually could be, he could probably go number one. His brother went number two because of how good he played in college, right? So
Yeah, but I think mainly LeVar pulling them from college and high school was because of the situation with LiAngelo, right, in China with the whole shoplifting charge and
yeah,
how
yeah.
UCLA kind of put them on hold, and so
No, I think UCLA was like, oh, you should. I think they're gonna suspend him or something for a couple weeks or
yeah,
something like that, which
mm,
obviously he deserves. Like, he stole on a trip. Like, why would you
exactly.
go against that?
In
And
such a
LiAngelo,
difficult country too, in such a
yeah,
strict country.
yeah, China too. So I don't know why you just. Plus, it's not like LiAngelo is the worst out of the three Ball brothers, and I think LaMelo is the best, who has the most potential out of all three. So I don't know why, knowing that, because like he even said before that he knows Lonzo and LaMelo could make it to the NBA, but if there's one of them he knows that might not be able to, it's LiAngelo. So I don't know why you think your son's that talented enough not to face consequences from a school,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that's in the past, and I'm pretty sure he does end up doing that, and LiAngelo regrets it too, because he could have been a second round pick in the NBA and probably could be playing for a team by now if he just
Right
stayed
now,
in
he's
college.
just on the G League team, I believe, right?
Yeah, he's in the G League somewhere.
Yeah, I think OKC's G League team, if I
Oh,
remember correctly.
really?
Yeah.
Maybe you can go to the starting roster.
But right now, I guess I think everything's put on hold with all the COVID and stuff. So I think the G League is delayed.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I think that wraps up the news. Thanks for joining us on the 60 Jog podcast. Make sure to visit our TikTok, SoundCloud, and YouTube to subscribe. Till next time, peace.
Peace.